we come again here for another introductory episode to a new character for the Fateless campaign. We have Augrad playing a dwarf named Dorric, and he will be going through his little story and introduction for this character. Well, an interesting sort of fellow was Dorric. Dwarf out of place, out of sorts. Left his cavern home and was cut off from everybody and removed from his group. Ended up somewhere completely away from all of his family, all of his friends. Isolated and alone. Which seems to be a common thread in hero stories, I guess. So, the weird part, though, is the dwarves live next to a lake, and they don't teach them how to swim. That just seems like a really bad idea to not teach people how to swim if you live right next to water. Because it's kind of a skill you don't really know you need until it's absolutely too late to learn. But anyways, he grew up in the caverns, ended up pulled away down into Atravanian territory at one of the large temples of Eros. Sits at the coast where all the storms can wash over the temple. Honestly, if you build your house where all of the storms will wash in off of the coast, that seems like a really just dumb idea for construction. I don't know who builds this kind of stuff, but this world has some weird practices. And then you also build them by the Atravanians, who just all live in the swamp and kind of just want to be left alone. Just, I don't know, Tillendor's a weird place. And we will have a group of dwarves are leaving their cavern home. The big doors open slowly, creaking and groaning a little bit, as Dorric, among the other young dwarves, sees the outside sunlight for the first time. That bright blast of sun as the cave opens up. Exiting out and seeing the wide open world just kind of open up, the sounds of birds, the sounds of other animals, nature itself, the whole just melodious cacophony, if you will, of all of nature as the instructor leads the group out and says, Children, this is what the surface dwellers call Cloudy Lake. I assume it's because it's not exactly clear. They're not very innovative for naming a lot of things. Please go ahead, make sure you have your buddy with you and you explore and see things in the world here. Myself and the other instructors will be here if you have any questions. And that is where Dorric has to pick a fellow dwarf to accompany him as he explores the surface. So who does Dorric pick to explore the surface with?
Well, I think I'm going to have to go with my best friend. I'll go with my best friend Thorn.
Best friend Thorn. That's a good dwarf name. Respectable. So Thorn will grin and you guys can head off onto the lake and look around. There are, like I said, the older dwarf instructors are kind of just hovering around all the different pupils and, warning people to stay away from the lake if they get too close, and, bring up some berries, whatever they'll tell you if it's poisonous or if you can eat them and stuff like that. So Thorn will head out towards the woods at first. Just kind of marveling at the massively tall trees that are just around the edges of the cavern entrance, right on the shore of the lake.
Thorn, my dad told me about this place. It's way different than all the halls that we're used to being in. Look at all this stuff. It's so different.
I still can't get used to. You look up and you don't see rock above. It's a little scary, actually.
I kind of like it. I feel like there's more room to breathe. The sun is a little harsh. I think that's what they call it. The sun? Sonos sun? Something like that.
He's just got to shrug, and he's like, "Oh, we could always ask the instructor, but I do believe it's kind of a moot question to ask."
True. Well, I don't know how long we've got up here. We might as well see everything we can. Let's head into these woods for a little bit and see what we can find.
All right, so as you guys head into the woods, kind of sneak into the woods a little bit, give me a perception roll.
It is a 10.
A 10? All right, so on a 10, you guys will be walking around here, and I do need to get a set dice out, because I did not open a stat block for this character. I thought I grabbed a d12 for a second, and I was like, that won't work.
No, not quite.
So, Thorn is just overwhelmed. It's a straight up 2, so slightly above just complete and utter failure. So he's just overwhelmed with all the sights and sounds. Kind of looking around, wide-eyed excitement. And you said you had a
10.
10. So as you all are up here walking around, you're going to spot some different rose bushes, sort of different plant life. There's actually some berry bushes that you find around the corner. And it's a weird thing to have as a trap game. Apparently a grazing deer is a trap.
All right. I wouldn't guess that. To be fair, I've never seen one before. Thorn, what is that? Wait, we've probably eaten deer, but we've never seen one in person.
Yeah, I'd say you definitely have seen deer. It was weird that was a hazard.
Yeah. You get it pissed off.
Alrighty
you
then.
get it ticked off the buck, it'll do you.
That's fair. So yeah, as you're walking around, and you guys are walking through the woods, that definitely detected you. So as you're walking through the woods, some of the noises and stuff that you're making and carrying on, a deer perks up and just bolts off in the distance of your vision. You see this deer just raise its head up and just run away in their leaping gait that they make.
I think oh my gosh, Thorn! And they just stumble backwards in shock and surprise a little bit into the rose bushes, I'm sure.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so you kind of fall backwards into some brush. I guess we'll do a reflex for that. See if you actually fall over when you hit the brush.
That is a 14.
14? Yeah. All right, so I think you'll stumble, you kind of hit the brush and kind of snag up a little bit in your clothes, but you manage to keep your footing. Thorn will just be kind of laughing a little bit at your reaction, and he's like, I do believe that was a deer from the books. A lot bigger than I thought they'd be.
Yeah, it was definitely bigger than I thought. I'll pluck a berry from the bush and throw it at him.
Alright, so you two are going to start a berry fight. That's interesting. So you chuck one at him, he'll pick up one and throw it at you, and as rambunctious children do, have a berry fight in the woods.
And of course, I'm going to try a bite of one because, why not? We're smushing them up and everything. So I'll try a bite of it too.
Alright. You're lucky enough to not have picked up a poisonous one. One of the instructors kind of makes its way around the corner, seeing that you guys had disappeared. They definitely have their hands full.
Mm.
The instructor kind of walks around and says, "You all okay over there?"
Yeah, we're fine. We just saw a deer and we're exploring and everything. We'll get back to where we're supposed to be, I guess. And I guess head back more towards the lake itself.
as you now are both covered in berry guts and bits.
Yeah, we probably need to go wash our hands in the water.
So as you head back towards the lake, looking around now, some darker clouds start to kind of raise up in the distance. Nobody seems to be too phased by it. They're just, some say it's going to rain a little bit, and one of them is kind of happy that you get to see rain on your first visit up here, because that doesn't always happen.
That's special.
Not really that special, it's just that it's one of those that, hey, we don't usually get rain when we come up, so this is interesting.
Yeah. Not bad for a first trip. So yeah, I'll go to the water's edge and kind of kneel at it and just, wash my hands off a little bit and try and get all the berry juice out of my, face and hands and, stuff like that. Because I know my folks would be pissed if I came back berry stained.
Oh, berry stained. That'd be a fun time. So yeah, you guys will clean up, and then they'll bring you all around to a little bit of a sit and learn sort of thing, and they'll start talking about the people around, the Etravenians.
I'm not really going to pay that much of attention. I'm just too awestruck by what's going on around, and easily distracted by just being outside for the first time.
Yeah, I can see that. It's a light lesson because they know that there's definitely some distraction, but they have to, do the thing teachers do and kind of share instruction and share stories. So they're talking about the Etravenians, and the Etravenians they're an interesting people. They have their main fortress, that's like the main royal family, is built at the edge of the mire. And then they built up little villages and towns inside the mire. Everything built up on stilts. The best way to look at it would be like the bayous, sort of, once you get into the mire itself. Everything's built on stilts. They use, small boats to traverse between areas. There are some roads, but they very quickly get flooded with water periodically throughout the year. They have to be maintained. Some bridges that are built, and he's talking about how they mostly just, do their thing. They like to be left alone, but they are good trading partners for the dwarves. They appreciate dwarven weapons and dwarven steel, and the dwarves get to learn more about the surface around them, and they also get access to some of the magic that otherwise they wouldn't have. So it's a mutually beneficial relationship.
Cool.
And while they're having the conversation, it starts to sprinkle. So you're sitting there with this lesson going on, and you start feeling raindrops on your head.
I'm just going to pull the head up of my cloak over my head a little bit more, and maybe try and find a drier patch of ground to sit on as we listen.
Well, the fun part would be if you live underground in caves. I imagine water suddenly hitting your head is not a good thing to feel.
Rude. That would be. I'll raise my head. Teacher, this is raining a lot more than, what's going on?
That's part of the cycles of the surface. They have rain, they have the rainy days, the dry days, and it usually lasts for a few minutes, so we're going to just kind of stay underneath the trees and continue our explorations.
So we've already looked over there at the woods and stuff. Well, I want to go see if we can see a fish in the water. So head over more towards the lake itself and the water, maybe getting in ankle deep to it and stuff, just to kind of see what we can see there, playing with cattails and stuff, and what all critters and bugs and things we can find.
Getting all wet, dirty, and muddy. The typical boys day outside.
We're clean of the berry juice now, so...
Time to go on to mess number 2.
Exactly. I'm sure it was a crappy cleanup job, anyways.
Yeah. So yeah, you'll have that a little bit more time there as you kind of probably splash at each other a little bit, and you find different. You play in the water there. You will have a couple fish kind of swim up, and maybe a couple even kind of bump up against your stout legs as you're in the water.
Oh, I'm going to try to catch one with my hand.
Give me, what would that be? It'd definitely be a sleight of hand to try to do that.
At the very least, yeah. All right, let's see.
And I guess we'll do acrobatics for us for. I almost said the completely wrong fish. So
don't worry about it. It's a nat 1.
Oh, nice.
So I'm pretty sure that fish gets out of the way, and I fall completely in the water.
Actually, also a nat 1 for the fish. So I'm picturing probably the most ridiculous, like cartoonish sort of thing happening ever. You manage to catch this fish and you pull it out of the water, and the fish is flailing around, slaps you across the face with its tail, and then you end up dropping it because it hits you, and then it falls in the water and bolts off.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And at that point, I'm just going to be laughing because I think it's hilarious. It's fantastic that I caught a fish with my hand. I'm proud of that. But I think it's also hilarious that I'm now soaking wet in cloudy, dirty water.
It's not really dirty water,
Oh,
just
yeah.
that sort of the kind of a little bit murkier.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll cut away there, and as you know, the stuff keeps happening, and people are seeing different things, and there's now people talking about the fish, and some of the minders there are trying to catch some to basically get together for a meal. And the camp is on the edge of the lake. It's a little bit further away from the doors of your settlement there, but not too far away. You get a nice view of the lake and across the lake, and you actually can just barely see across the lake. There's a tower, like an old guard tower up there on the other side of the lake from where you're camped. Just barely see it in the rain. And some lightning strikes. They're still saying, we're high enough up, it's not a problem. So they just keep going out the day.
I reckon I would probably, nibble on my meal and talk about my exploits of how I was the best hunter in our class since I caught a fish with my bare hand. Just braggartly so. Like, exaggerating the size of the fish so much so that my arms are out their max. That's how big it was. The fish was bigger than I was. As I'm retelling this tale of this fish that I caught, and then it just used magic to get away from me. After that, eat, nibbling some food and stuff. Look over at Thorn. Thorn, do you see that over in the distance there? That tower? Let's go find that. Let's go see what that is.
Well,
so
I would say the instructors are keeping a close eye on everybody, and as you try to sneak away, they're going to tell you that you can't. No, stay here. We're going to finish up the meal, and then they're actually setting up camp. So it's starting to get towards it's like dinner time now. So they're just kind of setting up a campsite.
I'm the great hunter of the group who caught the fish. I should be able to sneak away from this.
And they're like, no, you need to help set up camp.
Okay, fine. I will help set up the camp. So I begrudgingly begin to set up camp and help the other students with it. Not really paying attention to what I'm doing, looking over in the distance at the tower as it being a place that I want to go and explore and see what else I can find there.
Yep. So you're set up camp, and you guys managed to get your camp set up, and it's starting to get towards nighttime. The instructors kind of make their way around, making sure everybody's in their tents asleep, and they kind of set up a perimeter to make sure nobody tries to get out of the camp. And you'll hear a whisper from outside your tent. and it's Thorn. Dorric, we can get out. I saw a blank spot in their ring. We can get out.
You don't have to tell me twice. Let's do this. And so I want to sneak out from my tent and start following Thorn to get out of the camp.
So Thorn leaves you in kind of a circuitous way around, getting around the camp, kind of out the backside, and you go down a little bit of a hill away from the lake, and then you kind of cut back around, so you're able to get around the camp. And as you two are now walking around, the stars up in the sky, a little bit cloudy, so there's like every so often a cloud will kind of move over and a star will peek out and it goes back behind a cloud again. Still kind of raining, not super hard, but definitely that nice brisk rain.
That's literally what I have here in the real world. Is it lightning or just the rain itself?
There's very occasionally lightning strike.
Okay. So
and they're usually fairly far away.
So once we get out of like hearing distance of the camp and everything, start talking to Thorn, going, what do you think that tower is for? What do you think that's for? As we head that way.
I don't know. Maybe it was used at one time to be shelter if they were fishing, or maybe hunters.
That would make sense.
There'd definitely be shelter out here.
Yeah. I'm getting more used to it without having a roof over our heads the entire time the longer we're out here. You know what?
It's still a little weird, but it definitely feels nice.
And then look at it and I'll go, I bet I can beat you to the tower and start running as fast as I can at my dwarven speed towards the tower.
Not only your dwarven speed, but your
child
dwarven speed.
Dwarven speed. Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so as you run along the side of the lake, there's a little bit of spots where it's kind of muddy. So there's a little bit of slip and slide every so often. And you come across one of the little tribute areas from the mountains itself into the lake. So there's water flowing now. So you head down the side of the river here. You come across one of the little tributaries. There is no bridge or anything over this water. It's just open water that flows down from the mountain into the lake itself.
Gotcha. Can I tell how deep that tributary is and everything?
I would say for somebody who's never been outside, no.
Okay. I don't have any clue of how deep water is, so I'm just going to run headlong into it and hope for the best. Yeah.
Oh, as somebody who grew up near a river, that's such a horrible idea.
Yeah, I know it is. I am I realize that. Dorric would not.
Dorric does not.
Dorric does not. He's lived in a hole. He's never been he has no concept of the depth of water. Like, he would have no clue. He would just assume it's the shallows that he's walked across already and just keep on trying to truck across it.
So as he hits the little tributary river there, between the mud and the current flow, he is knocked off his feet and starts sliding.
I'm gonna have to try and regain my balance, like stop and reach back for Thorn and try to catch myself and prevent myself from falling, since I was not expecting that at all.
And we'll say Thorn is not close enough to get hands on you as you fall.
It's going down.
Going down into the water.
Yep. And I don't know how to swim, so I am going to start panicking and just flailing around.
And that is as Dorric is now in the water. Thorn yells to try to yells to Dorric, and as he just starts going away, he starts yelling, and the instructors are too far away, so you hear the panic at the camp as they try to get out there. But by the time they get to where you guys were, Dorric, you are well outside of reach and even earshot of the goings on there, as this current is whipping up strong.
I'm going to be screaming for help for anybody, for Thorn, the teachers, anybody, just desperate. I'm terrified because I've never been in water. I don't know how to swim. My head keeps going under the water every once in a while and coming back up, gasping for air.
Oh, I noticed. This map needs updated. There's supposed to be a river here. So you end up hitting you rush out from there, and you kind of rush along the side of the lake, and end up going down another river that heads through here, a little stream area. Mm-hmm. So Dorric is just flailing and panicking, every so often getting pushed back under the water. You're able to, just out of sheer buoyancy alone, keep above high enough so you're not at risk of drowning, or not at risk of dying as you kind of get a little bit of traction in the water. Grabbing
for any kind of limb or anything that's within reach to grab hold of that could just give me some kind of purchase to stop this this travel.
So we can do for that. Let's go with. I really feel like that is a matter of survival. I don't care if that's not what that's for, but we're going to go with that.
Yeah, survival makes sense on that. That is a 16.
16. Goody. So I will say you're able to be able to get sort of maneuver your way between kind of jumping off of rocks under the water, and just sheer force alone able to get yourself to a large chunk of a tree that is floating and kind of grab onto it. Probably take you a little bit to figure out how to balance yourself on it, because every time you try to pull from the one side it kind of rolls, so it takes you a little bit to get configured.
Yeah.
But you're able to wrap onto this log and now use it to float, so you're not getting pushed underwater, but you are now far away from the lake and you're no longer seeing any of the sights you were seeing before.
Yeah. As a child, this is absolutely terrifying. It's dark. I don't know where I am. I was already in a weird place. I'm even in a stranger place. Never experienced anything like this before. Just utter terror as a kid.
So, you'll be floating on the river for about 2 days. And you start seeing the river open up into a much larger, just blue, all you can see in front of you. But at the side of this, just off to the side, and the logs are heading straight for it, is a stone structure that has a lightning bolt kind of embossed into the stonework. So there's this lightning bolt and the stonework on this wall that has a little lip that's right at the level of this river.
So would this be the first sign of civilization I've seen since I plunged in?
This would be the first artificial structure that you have seen since you fell into the water.
So at that point, even though I'm just exhausted, hungry and tired, cold, wet, I would still make an effort to scream for help. Help! Somebody help me! Just because it's the last chance that I see to possibly, not die.
So, yeah, you don't have help coming, but as the log keeps going closer and closer to this ledge, it basically smashes against it, so you have time to jump off as it's still progressing towards the wide open blue in front of you.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my best to push myself off of there and get to that and get hold and try to climb up out of the water.
All right, so we'll do an athletics to see how well you are able to retain strength when you jump.
That is a 8.
So I'm going to say you're probably, Dorric at this point, having floated for at least 2 days, is hungry, is cold, is wet, tired. You're able to jump onto the stone, and just feeling that cool stone beneath you again is a very comforting feeling for somebody who's always been living in feeling cold stone everywhere. So that comfortable feeling of security of the stone, and then the tiredness and exhaustion of Dorric's venture to here. You're going to kind of hit that stone and just not be able to move.
Yeah.
Your body just starts shutting down.
Yeah, I would just collapse from exhaustion. Sure.
And Dorric will hear, just before he passes out, sound of someone whistling. And then the sound of a wooden bucket being dropped on the steps as this person comes down to take care of the person who washed up onto their structure here.
Pass out. Yep.
Okay, sorry. My cat just distracted me.
You good?
As she's standing like a people on the side of my desk, asking where her food is. It's not time yet, kitty. Bet. So he washes up there, and in the meantime, so we skipped here as everything happens in this temple. He finds out this is a temple. This is a temple to Eros. The nomer here for Eros is the god of storms. This temple is built at the conflux of multiple rivers, where they all kind of meet and then flush out into the ocean. The other one that they have is built on, it's built in the Gulf, but you managed to wash up on the westernmost temple. And this is where as he's been here, every time a storm rolls in, it hits this stone fortress and hits it hard enough that some of these storms are so powerful that the stone itself almost seems to vibrate inside this fortress. This place is built to withstand just about anything. And Dorric learns from the brothers of the temple and the sisters of the temple that they are trying to locate his people, but they have not had much results. The local Atravanians don't know where the dwarves are camped at. They don't know where they're settled at. They're still waiting on word back from the city itself, the main capital, to see if they have information. So that won't be there. It takes them. So it takes them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8. So it would take them about 4 days to get to that city to even get there, and then to have to come all the way back.
Right. Yeah, that river,
so they're waiting on that.
That river hauled me quite a ways.
Yes, it did. And so as they're kind of going over that, the same person, the old man who got Dorric off of the stone, brought him up the steps and made sure he was okay. Got him with some blankets. Dorric woke up in a room covered in blankets, and his clothes were hanging up, but he was in basically the very drab robes of the order. The old man, brought him food when he woke up, and he says, this will help you feel better. We are trying to find where you came from, and it's a good thing you managed to stop where you did. Otherwise, you'd end up out in the remorseless ocean, possibly never be seen or heard from again.
Well, I appreciate your help. What is your name?
So I am fallen after joining the order, we take a new name. Some of us, if we have a past.
I do appreciate it. This is not at all what I expected to happen when we took our first trip out of the mountains.
Well, I don't think many expect their first adventures out to go the way they do. If you wish to stay here, we will do our best to locate your people and keep you fed and warm.
At the very least, is there anything I can do in return for y'all's hospitality?
Well, we could always use help with some of the chores around the monastery. There are many.
My dad always told me that you had to work for your keep, and so point me towards whatever you need, and I'll be happy to help.
Alright, so as you're doing that, and then they do get reports back that they cannot locate your home. And the worst part, when they do finally get word back from the city itself, they have to report that it is not currently reachable to get back to your home because of the river swelling.
Mm.
It has wiped out the bridge that would have led back to the lake.
Gotcha.
And otherwise, you're taking a trip through the dangerous woods, which, because of the marshy grounds, can very quickly turn into a disaster.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
So you're stuck here for at least a few extra days.
Okay.
And I'd say during that time period, I guess Dorric decided that he wishes to remain here, since it would have been now probably actually be about almost a week and a half when message finally got back that they couldn't reach your people.
Yeah, at that point, I think I would have fallen into or looked for some kind of regularity in life. Just finding my place, helping around, cleaning, doing whatever I can to help with that. Just doing odds and ends kinds of things around whatever they need me to do in the meantime. And getting comfortable there. The stonework feels good to me. It's comforting, like you said.
Plus, you also have the sky above you too. If you want to step outside, you're not always stuck in the roof.
It's the best of both worlds. I think one day, I would want to talk to Fallen, and just go simple. Would Dorric have known about arrows? Would he have been taught about that as a child?
I'd say the dwarves are given some lessons on all of the deities, though for people who are subterranean dwelling, Eros doesn't mean much to them.
That makes sense. So I would want to have a conversation with Fallen. Just what this is so different to me. Like who is Eros? Why do y'all worship him? Why is he your god?
So Fallon will kind of laugh at that as he's asked that question. I assume probably this would be closer to having been with them for about 2 weeks.
No, definitely.
Waiting for if the bridge will be built, and then waiting for a message to come back. And he would kind of laugh a little bit, and he's like, "Well, what brought me to Eros? The god who brings change, and I desperately needed a change in my life. It's why I went with the name Fallen when I joined the order. I was not good, I was not bad, but I definitely had lost my way, or I guess you could say I had fallen in life, and that's part of the reason why I went with the name. And Eros, through the winds of change and the storms, brought about that change I needed in my life. He brought structure. Eros is the one who brings the storms. He brings the winds. The winds bring the plants. It brings the animals out for the hunters. It brings rejuvenation back, which is what drove me to him. And it was the process of rejuvenation and change that I saw that I could change as well.
Well, the winds and storms certainly drew me to here also.
That would be a rather direct message from Eros if I ever heard of one.
Maybe subtlety is not his strong point.
Well, someone who commands lightning at their whim probably is not known for subtlety.
Very true. I'm drawn, as a dwarf, we've made all these crafts and everything. So, as I've been helping with the chores and cleaning, I noticed, there's a lot of various important items that y'all have, relics and things like that. I feel drawn to them, Fallen. I feel like they're important, and that it's something that I need to help protect, since this has helped to save me.
I feel the same way on every day. I'll speak to the headmaster, and we'll see about getting you an education for Eros, and then see where it goes from there.
I would greatly appreciate that. I would continue with my daily chores for that day that I haven't quite finished up yet.
Alright, so then you get the approval to start training in the way of Eros. Start learning about the relics. Eros has many relics that are both dangerous, but also, even though they are dangerous and can cause great harm, if they are used correctly, then they provide a benefit. Just as a storm brings damaging winds, if you harness the winds with, for example, a windmill, it gives you power and other resources for the village. So even in the most damaging and dangerous and harmful situations, Eros still helps and provides change. And that's kind of the mentality that these brothers and sisters of the Order have. And you'll see Dorric, learning about these rituals, reading the books, going through the daily life of service and servitude, cleaning, caring for artifacts, caring for the monastery itself. The master of the artifacts would bring Dorric in to tell him about these different artifacts and the purpose. Stuff like there's a jar that has, it's the perpetual storm, and when you look in this jar, it has lightning strikes, and there's like a rain and hail. Like it's a whole storm in a single jar, and it is brought out at the beginning of spring to the windows to let light come into the jar to feed the storm. And that is almost like a sacred flame to the temple. And just those kind of artifacts. And I would say probably throughout this time, Dorric would take his vows.
Yeah.
To join as a brother of the Order.
Yeah. Definitely so.
And as he does this, there is a figure that is seen periodically throughout his days at the temple. It's this orc man who typically shows up to speak to the masters of the temple and to give them messages and to bring in artifacts and relics to add to the collection. He's probably spoken to Dorric at least a time or two, but nothing's ever been very concrete with how he speaks. It's always been, he'll greet them, he'll share what he has to share, and then just as quickly as he enters, he leaves. never really been one for talk, and when asked, he would, Dorric would be told that the orc represents one of the agents of fate.
Okay.
And this visit, after Dorric is now a fully sworn-in member of the Order, the orc comes to visit and asks, and Dorric is summoned to go to meet with him.
Okay.
As Dorric walks,
Good.
I'd say as Dorric walks in, there's the orc is in the great chamber of the temple, which is a chamber off of the western wall that provides a 180 degrees viewing of the ocean and any storm that would come in. It's a chamber of reverence during storms. But for now, it's just a empty chamber with an ocean view.
Is he looking out over the water?
Yes, he'd be standing there. His arms are kind of crossed behind him as he just looks out across the ocean.
Walk up and stand beside him. I was told that you needed to speak with me?
Yes, I did need to speak with you. I have a certain situation that you might need to know of in the future.
I don't understand. I mean, I help clean and keep the relics and study. I don't know how much help I can really be for something like that.
Well, you find the most unsuspecting frequently become the most involved in epic tales and stories.
Oh, I've already had an epic enough tale. I'm happy just right here.
I said the same thing back in a cave, and here I am. But I need you to remember something, and this very much could be a matter of life or death in your future. It may not come to pass, but if it does, you will need this.
Okay.
So he will pull out of a pouch basically pull a pouch out from his the robes he wears, and he's going to hand this pouch to Dorric. It's the color of the pouch is almost like a dark storm cloud.
Okay.
The darkest of storm clouds. This dark black, gray, inky color for the pouch.
Okay.
It is inside. You will see, if you open it up, the glass inside is very important.
Pull the strings to just kind of like look inside carefully. I may have learned not to run headlong into situations now. So just kind of gently open and pull the drawstrings and peek in just a little bit just to see what's in there.
So inside the bag is it's a kind of a cloudy crystal that is in the shape of a lightning bolt. And he will say, "Now, no one but me can know that you have this item. This needs to remain hidden and not to be discovered by anyone, not even your closest of friends."
Can it be removed from the bag, or do I need to keep it in there?
You can store it how you like, though you want to be careful if it is not in the pouch, for it is fragile.
Okay. What does it do? What is this?
You'll know it is time to use it when you are in the room of murals and you meet the one who talks to himself and the wild man.
The wild?
Yes, the wild man. When you meet them, you will know behind the mural of the stormy night, there is a door on the wall that you need to throw this crystal at.
There's nothing like that here in the temple. I've seen that everywhere. There's no one here that I would call a wild man. There is that one old guy who talks to himself some, but he doesn't seem to bother me much.
Like I said, you will know when the time is right.
So I'm going to close the pouch back up and find like an inner pocket inside my robe to store it for now until I can find a better place to keep it. I thank you for this. I hope it doesn't come to pass, but I guess it's good to have something to help if I need it.
Well, I also hope that it does not come to pass for you, Dorric, though fate has a way of making even the most comfortable situation uncomfortable.
You sure do talk about fate a lot.
It is why I am here. But I do need to make sure you remember that about the gem, that no one should know you have it.
I will keep it secret, keep it safe.
And that you will only use it when you're in the room of murals, meeting with the wild man and the one who talks to himself.
I promise you.
Then I will bid you leave and hope that you do not need to use the knowledge that I have given you.
Okay. Yeah.
So he will turn to leave, and when he opens the door, he steps out into a wooden chamber that, when the door closes behind him, is returned back to the stone of the temple itself.
Oh, that's a neat trick. Go behind him and open the door and see if it just opens regularly.
It opens to a stone hallway that is the common hallway in the temple.
Well, that's just confusing. Say to myself. And close the door. And I guess go back about my day for whatever duties I have to fulfill.
So, there's more duties there as Dorric learns the magic of Eros and the way to use Eros' abilities, divine abilities, to create spells, to create mysteries, to create artifacts even, and to catalog artifacts. And at this stage, Dorric has joined the ranks of the handlers of relics, the keepers, the minders of the artifacts and relics of Eros. It is a subgroup within the temple, but they are just as important as any other group. So his duties in this part of the temple include caring for the different relics and artifacts, preparing them for the times that they would appear based on the holy moments in the calendar and based on the situations. You know, the stuff that's supposed to be out for storms, the stuff that's supposed to be out for, the sunny times, the different seasons, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So he now has this whole rotation of artifacts, and he now even has access to the artifacts that those outside of this part of the order don't even know exist.
Oh, okay. Cool.
And one of these artifacts is one that Dorric was sworn to protect.
Okay.
It is the hurricane bottle. And this plays in because Dorric discovers, after a visitor has left the temple, that the hurricane bottle is missing.
So I would go immediately to the head of the keepers of the artifacts and just go, it's missing. It's missing. It's gone. The hurricane bottle. We have to find this. It's gone from the temple.
So the man will look up at you and he says, You lost it. You must retrieve it. We will send word ahead, and we will get people to follow, but you must follow the one who stole it. We will meet up with you as soon as we are able.
So, I guess I'm going to have to try and figure out which direction that the visitor went when he left, since he's the most obvious thief, I guess is the right word. Yeah. There weren't any. But did I see anything where it was that was like any indication of who it was or anything like that?
So I would say there was a group. There was a group that was camping. Basically, they were traveling along the roads when a storm kicked up, and they came to the temple for refuge.
Okay.
They were leaving the city of Blackwick, and they were heading towards the Mire, which is the main capital of the Atravanians.
Okay. So it's like I guess I would gather up my gear. I guess potentially visit the armory and everything, and make sure that I have my lightning bolt. Was it a gemstone kind of thing?
It's a crystal.
Crystal. My lightning crystal. Hidden underneath my robes in that pocket still. As I prepare to go, knowing my speed, I would love to get some animal assistance, like a horse or pony, maybe, if that's available.
So they do not have that here. However, you do know that, like I said, it was a group, so they are going to be moving slower because they're a large group.
Okay.
And you, as a singular person on the road, can make some extra time to catch up.
Gotcha. So before I leave, I want to go and say bye to Fallon. Fallen. Why do I keep getting his name wrong? Bye to Fallen, and just not tell him why I'm leaving, but just telling him that I have to leave, and that it's important. Just because he's the one that, in my eyes, saved me and just has helped bring me up, like a father figure in this. So, yeah. So making him aware of what's going on, that I'm just leaving to
Yep.
on a mission.
You're leaving to retreat. Yeah, you're leaving on a mission.
Yeah.
So a little bit about this particular artifact. This was the artifact that in legend was used to convince Lucina, the goddess of the oceans, to marry Eros.
Oh.
So it is a bottle that contains one of the most powerful entities of the sea and one of the most powerful entities of the air in combination. So it is able to summon a hurricane.
Okay, so not something you want to play around with.
Yeah, it's definitely something that cannot fall into enemy hands. Like evil hands could use this for very evil situations.
Then I will strike out and start heading towards the Mire on this recovery mission.
Yeah. So you will make about a day's trip away from the temple itself. And you're following the river. The road kind of meanders along the river, and then it meets up with the main trading road that goes through Atravania. And as you're traveling along this road, there's different sights and sounds. You're reminded again when your first journey out onto the lake, and you kind of see the different creatures and different stuff around the world. That is very, very similar to that, except now to the south of you is more of that murky mire that is a swampland and a marsh, and then to the north would be that kind of wet forest that was around the lake.
I'll definitely stay clear of the rivers as much as I can.
The road doesn't go right down onto the river, but it is within, it's definitely within sight. And as you travel, you come across, as you're getting close to the end of the night, at the end of the day's travel, there is a cart on the side of the road. A man is currently trying to lift up the cart to put a wheel on, because the wheel has broken in the on the side of the road.
I'll quietly approach the man and just kind of observe, and maybe even just from the edges of the woods, not fully revealing myself, because I'm very suspicious, and this could be some of the people that took the relic. Look over at him and try and see if I can just tell anything about him. If I see anything that makes me think he's associated with the people that were there before.
Gotcha. So this will now have your attributes now, because we're at that stage. Yep. So give me. It won't help you in the situation. I would say give me a. I believe that would be a society roll. See if you recognize this man.
I'm pretty sure that.
Or like his voice. You could also do. I think it's probably the best roll for that. Yeah.
I would agree. Yeah, I don't have a modifier on that one. Oh, okay. That is going to be a 5.
So I'd say, based on your kind of surveying of this guy here, you don't recognize him. You don't recognize his clothes or even the sound of his voice, or like the markings on his cart. Mm-hmm. Though the only thing that is on this road is the temple. So, and the cart is moving away from the temple where the wheel had busted.
Gotcha. And
he's struggling and starting to curse and kick the side of the cart, as he can't get the cart lifted up high enough to put the new wheel on.
Okay. What race is he?
He appears to be a human man.
So I'll cautiously walk up, when I'm, probably like 15, 20 feet away from him, just kind of clear my throat. You, having some problems there, friend?
Yes, the damn wheel broke on the loose cobbles in the mud.
Do you have a replacement one?
He's gonna kind of motion to the wheel that's laying up against the side of the wagon. I can't get it lifted up quite high enough to meet the axle.
Well, I may be able to help with that, and so I'll kind of walk over there and say, I can lift while you try to get it on there, and grab a hold of the cart, and so I'll lift on 3. And
all right, I will say, as you walk up and you get closer to the cart, Dorric would feel kind of almost the effects of hangovers type situation. Kind of that headache, his skin sort of itchy. It's a sensation that he's only felt probably not incredibly often, except for maybe the occasional traveler through the temple. And it's a herb or a plant that will sort of consume magic. That means it's in the area.
Oh, that's weird. I guess when I start getting that feeling, I'll kind of just stop my stepping forward and look at the guy and go, who are you?
I am an alchemist of a sort, I suppose.
I feel
Not a particularly good one, but I am trying.
I feel weird suddenly. Take a step back and see if I don't know, grab my head and rub my temples some, and just just, yeah, So stop walking towards him to assist since this weird sensation is occurring.
Oh, he'd kind of look around. That's probably. Well, it's probably part of my protection for the road, and he's gonna pull a pouch from inside his cloak, and he says, "I keep some of the consumption plants. I keep them ground up and dried out in this pouch here to protect me from raiders on the road that are magically gifted."
Would I have any idea about what he's talking about, consumption plants or anything like that?
So the consumption plants would be, that's the Atravanian sort of way they describe the plants that eat magic.
Okay.
They just call them consumption plants.
Gotcha.
Just because it just eats the magical energy from around the area, and so as they get more magical energy in the plant, it causes it to bloom.
Gotcha. But it would be something that I would be at least vaguely familiar with and everything.
You've probably never seen it in a dried out powdered form like he has, but you have seen plants that do this.
That. Okay. Okay. Well, let's see if we can get you on the way. I hate the way that's making me feel, and so I'll step back up and get to the cart and position myself to lift it up on there. So I'll lift on 3 and see if you can get this slid on. 1, 2, 3.
So you'll lift. Give me a strength roll real fast.
Let's see. That is 8 plus. Ooh, wow, 9. Baller. It's pathetic for 4. So yeah, a 9.
So I'll say you don't quite get it up high enough for him to get that wheel in there. She's like, let's try one more.
All right. I'll try it again. And that will be a 19.
So the second time you manage to gather yourself and you lift it up, and he quickly slides the wheel in, and then it manages to kind of click into the axle,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to grab the hammer to pound it onto the axle.
Okay. Maybe you can do me a favor, since I've helped you now. I'm looking for a group that left our temple, and I'll kind of tap my shield to showing the emblem of Eros on there to indicate. Have you seen a group of people traveling? They left some important things behind that I needed to return to them.
Yeah, when the wheel busted on my wagon, they just laughed and passed me and left me on my own.
Well, that is unfortunate. I wouldn't have expected someone who visited our temple to have that kind of attitude. But they were heading the same direction you were?
Yes, they were on their way to the mire.
Jeez.
I can give you a meal if you want to camp out here, and then I can give you a ride on the wagon.
Oh, it's nighttime, isn't it? Yeah, crap, I forgot what time of day it was. Yeah, I guess I'll camp. Yeah, we can do that. We'll see what we do in the morning. But yeah, we can. I would greatly appreciate a meal. I've been traveling all day long, so yeah.
All right.
So I reckon I'll kind of step over to the side of the road and start preparing a bit of a camp for the night.
And he will climb up into the cart, and he'll bring out some bags that have different foodstuffs, and he's got some nice fresh bread. Looks like it's maybe a day old bread. Mm-hmm. So it's very fresh bread in comparison, and he has some some meat that he has, like some dried meats to bring over to give you for some food. And
Oh,
so, it is,
okay.
so he'll see you set up the camp, and he's like, "Thank you for getting the camp. As I said, here's some food for you, and I do thank you for the assistance."
Yeah, absolutely. Does the food look good or smell weird? Do I still have the hungover kind of feeling just from him being near me and everything?
Yeah, you still have that sort of feeling of just that kind of queasy feeling of the magic being drained.
It figures out.
Because he keeps it on him. He keeps it on his person.
I would figure I would not have prepared purify food as a cantrip for today.
So yeah, the dried meats are like some venison jerky and stuff, and he's got some dried fruits and stuff too.
So I guess I'll go ahead and eat the food. Just have conversation with him. Well, where did you say you were headed again?
I head into the mire to sell some wares.
Okay.
I've been learning my trade as a alchemist, and I was hoping that the folk of the mire will be more appreciative than Blackwick was.
Mm. Are you from Blackwick originally?
No, I am from Southwatch.
Oh, gosh.
Just further on the road past Blackwick.
Okay. An alchemist. I've never met anyone who was an alchemist before. It's different.
He kind of gives a little bow. He's like, it's definitely a living. It's an interesting trade. I mean, you get to make potions and other various mixtures and poultices, and it is good because it does help others, because you can bring potions to a farming community and help them for their different wounds and injuries from the fields, or you can come with a poultice to help the worker who was burned at a fire, and just it's definitely a rewarding career path.
I'm sure that you can, much like everything in life, there's both a good and both a helpful and a harmful aspect to it, for sure. That's one of the things that I learned in becoming a follower of Eros.
Well, it does definitely teach you some pretty clever ways to help defend yourself if you're ever attacked.
Mm. Any tricks?
That's where I learned to make the little. I'm trying to figure out a name for it. I'm kind of thinking consumptory, maybe. That's not the best word.
Well,
still a working title.
It definitely seems to have an effect, I can tell you that. I reckon as it gets darker and everything, I'll start getting tired and ready to head off to bed.
How much of the food did you eat that he brought out?
God.
I know you said you started eating it. So.
Yeah, I'm going to say I probably finished off the bread and took a couple bites of the meat.
So as Dorric starts to get ready to head to bed, he's going to notice that the human man has not consumed any of the food he brought out. And as Dorric starts to fade and get woozy, he'll notice a grin on the human's face as he pulls a mask from inside of his cloak and goes to put it on. The mask obscures his entire face, and then running from forehead to chin is an intricate pattern that's almost like a woven design on this mask. And he just says, before Dorric passes out, he says, "Excellent. The Weaver will have one more." And he'll whistle, and 3 other people come out of the woods around the camp to put Dorric into the cart.
Yeah, I'm not good in the real world. Shit happens.
So the next thing, when Dorric finally starts to come to, Dorric is brought into this stone building. It's not a stone that he would recognize. At least has never really worked around between being a dwarf and then it's not really a thing over by the temple. It would be a sandstone, so it's that gritty stone, the floor and the walls. And the headache is there, but it's significantly worse inside this area. And he will be kind of drug along by two of these people wearing similar masks to that human that grabbed him. They're not quite as intricate, but they're similar in nature. And then he'll hear a door open as he is thrown into a room that has one person in it. And the door closes behind. Inside this room, let me pull up my little note about this because it's a really fun note. On the western wall, there's a mural of a stormy night. And as you look at the mural, there are lightning strikes that almost seem to flash and move as you watch the mural. The northern wall, there's a snake that's eating its own tail. On the western wall, there's an elf standing there.
You mean Easter?
Sorry, eastern wall. There's an elf standing there with raised arms, wearing a mask that matches the mask of the one who poisoned you. And as he stands there, his arms are raised. There's a town, and as you look at the mural, it looks like buildings start to shake and collapse. And if you look away from the southern wall, the wall you just entered from before they closed the door, there is a scroll of parchment that, as you're looking at it, seems to unwind as a quill writes on it. If you view it, yeah. And then when you look away from any of these murals, they go back to being static. And that is where we will leave Dorric for the future.
Cool.
So I will do what I did with Tex. Is there anything that you would like to share with the listeners for this new campaign? This is your stage.
Oh Lord. Hey y'all. I'm Augrad. I'm just joining Fate's Rest here and looking forward to it. That's really about it. I don't have a whole lot to say at this point. Hope that you'll end up enjoying Dorric as much as I've enjoyed creating him and seeing how he goes through this journey.
We'll say our goodbyes on the episode, as we have always done. We love you.
Bye.
Bye. As everything happens and you look around the room, Dorric, you realize there is a human man in the room. I don't know how he is currently carrying himself in the imprisonment, so we'll see how he is doing that.
He is sitting crisscross applesauce on the floor in his heart boxers.
I forgot we did that. All right, so you two are now thrown into a room, having been imprisoned and kidnapped by the cultists. How do these two characters react to one another? Dorric, you were also basically stripped down to the bare minimum.
That was going to be my next question. Awesome. So I'm just I would be bewildered, thrown into a dark room and everything. Just look up, open my eyes. Where am I? Who are you? What is this? What are we doing here?
Your guess is as good as mine. I have just been sitting here waiting. I honestly don't know how long. Just waiting. It took all my stuff. I don't know what to do.
Pat.
You do know, Theo, that you've been given one meal since you were thrown in this room.
At least they feed us.
So that's all you have for the passage of time.
Well, at least there's that, although that's how they got me. They tricked me into eating the food. I don't know if I would trust anything here. Speaking of which, who are you?
Name's Theo.
I'm Dorric.
Yeah.
Any idea why we're here?
I'm gonna go with what I've been told my entire life. Shit happens, I guess. I don't know.
All I know is I was leaving our temple, looking for a stolen relic, and the next thing I know, the guy I met on the road was feeding me, and he pulled on some weird mask.
Wait, is it like a weird looking elf dude with a ugly mask?
It had some kind of mask that covered his entire face and had like some kind of rope.
He gave you jerky, didn't he?
Thing. Yeah, he did. How'd you know?
How do you think I'm here?
It was such a weird situation too. I shouldn't have trusted him. I'm too trusted growing up in the Temple of People. I shouldn't have trusted him. I should have done better.
I have a feeling that you would have been here regardless of whether you ate the jerky or not. It's fine. You ever heard the concept bad juju? That's my life.
A time or two.
That's my life.
Well, if I know anything, I know bad stuff happens, but you can always kind of change it. I've had a few things go wrong in life, but it's all worked out for the most part. So maybe there's a way for us to better our situation here.